Welcome to Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt of the Marquardt Law Firm at marquardtlawfirm.com.
Welcome back to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt here with Assistant District Attorney, Chief of Civil Rights Division, Daryl Harris. We've been talking about the civil rights violations that occur when an officer exceeds his justified use of force. But I want to talk about the Sinners and Saints segment first. Okay, Mark, that's the wrong song. So usually we have Meredith Brooks singing about being a sinner and a saint, but today we'll just go with, I could only think of a sinner this week. I don't have a saint to talk about. I apologize for that, but I wanted to let you know I read from Ian Leonard from Fox News about someone named Lucy Letby, who was a nurse in the United Kingdom. She had been found guilty of murdering 7 babies at a hospital neonatal unit. And there was you might remember some years ago here in San Antonio, there was a nurse accused of the same type of thing, and there's a book about it. Anyway, I like to have a sinner and a saint because Martin Luther said that each of us is both a sinner and a saint at the same time. The saints are sinners too, but they are forgiven and absolved. So during the break, you said to talk about law and gospel at the same time would be sort of difficult, but I think that's how, at least how my pastor is always talking about it. Here's what the Old Testament said, and here's how Jesus resolved that.
Yeah. I share that belief, and I quickly opine around the office, there is no problem so annoying or complex that adding more lawyers won't make worse. But to go back and finish up the answer to the question, so the statutory law authorizes the use of deadly force when and if the officer is presented with deadly force, be it to himself or in others, for the purpose of effecting an arrest. What the public may not always appreciate is what the officer knew about the situation before the point of the decision to use the force is. Mm-hmm. Is he trying to execute a warrant? Is there has you traffic stop revealed a warrant for a particular type of charge? Does that put him on notice of such that a reaction may lead to something else? Along with that, if that decision is made, if that's reasonable, then also by statutory law, there is no duty to retreat before using force or deadly force, and so that's how we govern the analysis. But the shoot first, ask question later, that nature, that characterization, if you just see that, in the most typical scenario you see it is individuals fleeing, running away, and it becomes a very fact-specific analysis, but it's governed by that statutory law, and I hope I completely addressed the caller's question.
I think so. I got a text message from one of my listeners about this topic, and she said, aren't the police sort of in a similar situation that a member of the military would be in when you enter a situation of conflict? There's a heightened sense of danger, and so how can you be called upon to use all of your reasonable faculties when really the ancient part of our brain is designed to fight or flight?
Yeah, I understand the intent and the premise behind the question, and therein lies the challenge. Sometimes there's an expression that the listeners may have heard, looks awful, but it's lawful. Now, I'm not trying to hide behind it. The analysis we have to bring applies what we've said before, and there may be calls and instances. Conversely, we are seeing again across the country a number of examples where the ultimate triers of fact, the citizens, have deemed unreasonable and therefore unlawful.
Okay.
And so it's possible to do both. Again, a nugget learned from talking to my colleagues in Harris and Travis and Houston. 9 out of 10 of these are generally what we believe they are. But in that 1%, you will find fact patterns that call several questions and issues in the question. There's an article I had on a 2019 incident out of Midland, Texas. Well-off homeowner, oil tycoon, the alarm to his home went on the blitz. Midland police came, they patrolled the area, opened the front door. Midland police call out. Homeowner was in the depths of his home, claimed he didn't hear it. He shot from inside the home, hit and struck an officer who ultimately died. And that DA took it to trial, and in that DA's opinion, she wasn't convinced that the homeowner's use of deadly force was immediately necessary based on what he heard or perceived or feared. And a Midland jury found him not guilty.
Oh, okay.
So it's what drew my attention. The title of the article is "You Can Stand Your Ground in Texas, Even If You Kill a Cop."
Wow.
Now,
Got to be careful.
That's Midland. Don't know how that standard may apply across the state, but it's there. That's a sacred value in your home. Your Fourth Amendment protections and liberties are at their highest in your home. So you can see that inherent conflict.
Yeah, but it probably all goes to the reasonableness.
Yes, that's exactly it. And that.
So how many cases come to you every year? I mean, it doesn't sound like it would be a lot.
Well, let's see. When we started, historically the office handled these things through our white collar public integrity division. So I took when we actually got up and running in January of 21, I took about 50% of the open officer-involved shootings, and then going forward, anything new came to me. So I've got a docket of about 100 cases across all three genres: custodial deaths, excessive use of force. In a backlog, we have 7 cases indicted, 3 involved shootings. Most of them are excessive uses of force in executing an arrest. There was an officer-involved shooting this morning.
So an officer-involved shooting doesn't necessarily have to result in a death.
No,
it could still be prosecuted.
The major agencies, BCSO, SAPD, they give us a call when it happens. Once the scene is secure, we go and we start to evaluate things as they're finding it out. And then when they complete their own internal investigations of it, they send them through my section. Based on having seen the initial layout, the initial understanding, we have a barometer to gauge, does this appear to be complete with what we know? Is it what we expect? We will reach out to the family or the citizen himself, if it's not a death, or the family of a citizen. The legislature finally cemented this past session a law that says the family of a citizen has the right to see medical reports, video instance, just so they can know what has happened to their loved one. Now, we've done that we were doing that as a policy before the statute came out, but we were happy to see it. I think it's an essential part of communicating what happened. And then we make our analysis and pass the recommendation on to the elected, take that and present it to a grand jury with a recommendation and live with the result. And we try and intend to write a memorandum of law if something gets no-billed, explaining the analysis in the law, and then that's all we'll speak on.
I saw some of that on the website.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's keeping up with it is always the challenge.
Right, because the public gets interested in those high-profile things.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, we got to take one more break. When we come back, we'll be talking about legacy and continuing the conversation about civil rights. So stay tuned.
This has been Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt, brought to you by the Marquardt Law Firm. You can learn more at marquardtlawfirm.com. And be sure to listen to the full Talk Law Radio show Saturday mornings at 11 on 9:30 a.m. The Answer.
Week, attorney Todd Marquardt talks about the law. His mission with the Talk Law Radio show and podcast is to help you discover your legal issue blind spots. In the beginning, God had one law. Don't eat from the fruit of that tree. Then came the 10 Commandments. Now we have federal, state, and municipal lawmakers that won't stop creating new laws. Laws that might impact you without you knowing it. Listen to the show and drop a line on Facebook or email host@talklawradio.com and let the host know what you think of the show, the topics you want to hear, and whether you want to be a guest.